to a 6-year-old and he's like, oh, sure, I know what I'm doing, because it's just like Grand Theft Auto, and then just and then you're on the news, and then they hear about how, the kid crashed and it was the heartbreaking moment of the entire neighborhood and he was such a good kid. You need the right driver. And you're asking for DJU to be the right driver of this offense. 2 more for you. Next one. Where is your stance on Stetson Bennett being in the College Football Hall of Fame? Because apparently that's a really big argument. Does his numbers during his time during the regular season justify a spot? Sam in Kennesaw, Georgia. For starters, I didn't know we had an audience in Kennesaw. Thank you, Sam. He made it to the national championship twice as a walk-on quarterback. That's my argument. That's my argument. I'll go a little bit deeper real fast, but do me a favor. Remember the story of Stetson Bennett. And again, not what happened to him after he won a national title, but what he did to get to here. He walks on to Georgia. He's not the starting quarterback. He's like the 5th string quarterback. He's on the practice squad, the scout team. He doesn't do really anything. And they tell him, you should transfer. You should easily go elsewhere if you want playing time, because you're not going to be on the squad. So he goes to a junior college and he has some success there. And then he comes back to Georgia. He comes back to Georgia as a walk-on. Not a scholarship player, as a walk-on. And with one of the best quarterback prospects that we have seen coming out of high school, leaving USC, JT Daniels, he comes on in. And Daniels ends up actually being a pretty damn good quarterback. Like a really good one. One that we start believing maybe has some first-round buzz. Maybe has some conversations of some upside of where this is the reason why Georgia's going to a national title. And he gets hurt. And then they turn to Stetson Bennett. And Bennett starts to win football games. And he balls out. He plays well. And then Daniels gets healthy. And they say, no, we're going to play the hot hand because number 13 is very lucky this time. And he goes and he beats Nick Saban in Indianapolis. And he ends a 4-decade drought in Athens, Georgia. Something that had not been done by Mark Richt or any other coach since Vince Dooley. And then he comes back another year. And that offseason, and you never forget this, people, because I remember Twitter, I remember Instagram, I remember Reels, I remember people on the media, I remember everything. Why is Bennett coming back for another year? This isn't a good thing. This is bad because of you're going out a champion. That's how you want to end things. And in year 1, you can go ahead and say, yes, he was a major factor for the team, but he had a great defense, he had a great rushing attack, he had great weaponry. What can you say about year 2? The offense catered more so towards Stetson Bennett. Oh, by the way, waiting in the wings were 2 5-stars in Brock Vandegrift and Carson Beck. And then you also had Gunnar Stockton coming on in. So there was the change. You were holding off all of them on a regular. And on top of everything else that I'll throw into the mix, you also made sure that you won a national title again. And the way that we now view Georgia is they're the next Alabama. They have everything in place to be the dynasty of the 2020s. They have everything that is going to be set moving forward to where easily any kid that goes and looks at Columbus or looks at Tuscaloosa or looks at Clemson or Los Angeles, they'll scoff at it because Georgia called. And you don't do that unless Stetson Bennett is your quarterback. Yeah, I believe in the multiverse. I truly think out there in society, we have millions and millions and millions of alternate realities of where things happen. But to me, when I look at this team, you don't win a national championship in this universe without Stetson Bennett. And yeah, you're going to throw Johnny Manziel in, who didn't have a great chance of being a starter and then proved everybody wrong. You talk about Baker Mayfield and him being able to set records at Oklahoma, him being on the come up, like all of that. Yeah, it's great, but they didn't win the national title. And if they're shoo-ins for winning because they won a Heisman Trophy, why is Stetson Bennett not a shoo-in for actually winning national championships? It's a dumb argument. It's an absolutely egregious argument. Yeah, the numbers are absolutely average to beyond compare when you talk about everyone else. But the greatest walk-on story that has ever existed resides down in Athens, Georgia, for a kid that grew up rooting for the Bulldogs and defying the odds, getting told no, having to leave the school, then come back to the school. And after he came back to the school, still wasn't the guaranteed starter, And yet here we are talking about him winning 2 national championships. That belongs in Atlanta. And if he's not a first ballot and is not considered to be a Hall of Famer because of his regular season numbers, do me a favor. Go down to the College Football Hall of Fame and set it on fire. Because if it doesn't exist, it's not real. It's just make-believe. It's like whose line is it anyway, where the points don't matter. Because of a guy like Stetson Bennett and his accolades, of what he did, defying everything, proving that what is the purest of college football, that belongs in the Hall of Fame. And if you don't think so, then I don't know what else to tell you. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. That's awesome. Thank you so much. But before you leave, make sure that you hit subscribe. And if you want to check out any of our other great work, make sure you click on one of the videos here. Am I pointing at the right spot? I'm not entirely sure. I'm really not.